Amazingly, he's going for a 5th consecutive title here. And he's up against the 3rd seed from Serbia, Novak Djokovic.
Mesdames, Messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Monaco. Mesdames, Messieurs, l'hymne national monégasque.
De
Monte Carlo Rolex Masters 2009. Voici les finalistes de la finale du Monte Carlo Rolex Masters 2009.
So both players will be amped this afternoon. It's a big match for both. Nadal, of course, has set so many records on this particular surface over the past few years. And he comes into this match, Robbie, against Novak Djokovic as the heavy favourite. He's been playing some good ball this week, especially in that 2nd set yesterday against Murray when he was severely tested.
That was some of the best tennis I've seen all week, if not the best set of tennis, without a doubt. And he has to come in as the favourite. I think the competition that Djokovic has faced this week isn't as stiff, and I think he's going to have to produce something extraordinary, is the Serb, in order to get the better of Nadal today, especially given that they're playing on clay, and his record against Nadal on clay isn't that good.
No, that's the problem. These guys have played 16 sets against one another on this particular surface, and Djokovic has only won 1. But having said that, he did play a really good match on that occasion in Hamburg, if you remember rightly, in the semi-finals. And had Djokovic won that, he would have taken over the world number 2 spot from Nadal, and he did execute his game plan really well, just wasn't able to do it over the course of the 3 sets, and that's the problem against Nadal, isn't it?
It's exactly what Murray said in his press conference yesterday after the loss to Nadal, that it's being able to have that high intensity and high level of tennis for so long against Nadal. That's what makes it so tough against him, because when he does have one chance, Murray said there is nobody better in the game at the moment than taking that opportunity. So there's no letting up when you play against Nadal.
That's the problem. It makes you play an awful lot of balls, and he's super fit as well, so it doesn't matter how long the match goes. Both players are out here practicing this morning. We've had 1 or 2 little showers, so the court is relatively damp at the moment, but the forecast is pretty good this afternoon. It's relatively warm. It's about 19 degrees centigrade at the moment, 67 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the real feel. It's pretty humid, so there is a little bit of moisture in the air. The humidity is at about 74%. No real wind for the players to have to contend with at all. But we are promised 1 or 2 showers a little later on this afternoon, perhaps from 5 o'clock onwards. So fingers crossed we can get this one done and dusted by then, because it would be a shame if rain were to interrupt the last match of the week. Pascal Maria is the umpire for this one.
Hola, Rafa. Okay, gentlemen, same condition, best of 3, tie-break set, 6 balls, 7 and 9. We have Ned Dovison, full crew, ball kids and line judges, and is a TV changeover. If you can have a seat until I call time, it will be wonderful. Any questions? Heads or tails? Heads. Heads? It's heads. You're serving? Can you take some picture, please, guys? Thank you.
So Djokovic winning the toss and electing to serve. Not a bad ploy.
It's so important to try and stay with Nadal as long as you possibly can at the beginning of any of the matches. 1 or 2 grey clouds overhead, and as I mentioned earlier, we have had 1 or 2 showers but at the moment, conditions are absolutely perfect. Djokovic will be pleased that there is a little bit of cloud cover, because we know that he has struggled of late when it's exceptionally hot and humid. So we've seen some really good matches over the course of the last couple of days. Both the semi-finals yesterday had plenty of entertainment for us. Djokovic dropped the opening set against Wawrinka, who of course beat Federer a couple of days ago for the first time in his career, and Djokovic then hit back strongly and was a breakdown in that third set, 2-love, before eventually prevailing, and Nadal was tested, having led 6-2, 5-2 at one stage when Murray fought back valiantly before Nadal eventually prevailed in the tiebreak. So I think both players have played enough tennis this week coming into this particular match to feel pretty good about their games. And it was interesting listening to Nadal at the beginning of the week, Robbie, suggesting that even somebody as good as Nadal, who's so confident on this surface, had lots of process goals within the week, as well as obviously trying to win the tournament. So he was trying to get enough matches under his belt to feel pretty good about his game. And even for somebody like him who's been brought up on the clay, the movement was the one thing that he wanted to try and get used to most of all.
And that's something that we were highlighting to all you folks out there, just how important it is and how different it is on the surface to anything else. Because if you get the movement right, everything else, as we said, more often than not, is so simple in the sport, especially for these guys. It's all about being in position, being able to execute the shots, and on clay, that's a lot tougher to do than on any other surface. Sliding is a real art on the surface.
It's a big day for Nadal. If he is successful, it'll be a 14th Masters Series shield upon his mantelpiece, and that will draw him level with the great Roger Federer, and it will put him just 3 behind Andre Agassi, who of course is the all-time leader with 17 wins at this particular level. Now, he's won his matches in straight sets, and no surprises there, given he's on a relative roll in that regard. And his win-loss record here in Monte Carlo is 28-1, and he's won 30 consecutive sets here. But within those sets, Robbie, there have been periods when he has struggled, made a few unforced errors, so there's no doubt about the fact that he's not playing his best tennis at the moment, but still he's obviously playing well enough to win.
Well, this is the scary thing for the guys that he's playing against. Is even against Cello, where he went through a stage in the match, he lost 11 straight points, he still managed to win the set 6-2. So it just goes to show that even his bad times aren't bad enough to hurt him dramatically. And if you want to beat him, you've got to play at an extremely high level, as we said, throughout the course of the match. And that's something that Novak Djokovic will be looking to do. He's come close, as you said, in Hamburg, but today it's a different story.
It really is. He's still having a relatively good season, 26-8. He was a winner in Dubai. That was his 12th ATP title. And he was a semi-finalist in Sydney and Marseille, quarter-finalist, of course, at the Australian Open and in Indian Wells. And, of course, he was a finalist more recently in Miami, where he lost to Andy Murray in straight sets. So he's hanging on to that number 3 spot, but only just.
Yes, Murray is trying to break down the door, and I think it's just a matter of time before Murray will be able to surpass him. And, in fact, the way Federer is playing of late, if he keeps dropping points, Murray's got a chance of being ranked the number 2 player in the world going into the French and Wimbledon. So we'll have to see how that all unfolds. But I like the progress he's made in the last 2 weeks, especially with that runner-up showing in Miami, getting the confidence going. And I thought his first couple of matches here were pretty good. I think we're seeing a more confident Djokovic. And I think today he's going to play with a lot less pressure on his shoulders. He is absolutely the underdog coming into this match, and I think that's going to help him big time, because I think he struggled with that burden of expectation last season.
And also within his matches this week, he did struggle a little bit against Montañez, but against Verdasco he played better despite losing that second set. And he was under a lot of pressure yesterday against Wawrinka when he lost the opening set, when he was a breakdown 2-love early doors in the third, but responded well. Yes, and I think that was the important thing. The response was a good one, because yesterday was a tough match against Wawrinka. Really tested him physically and mentally, and 2-love down in the third. It looked like Wawrinka was getting the better of his man, but Djokovic fought back valiantly, and I think is deserving of his spot in today's final.
Now
At least he knows what it takes to beat Nadal, but the bad news is those 4 victories that Djokovic has had against the Spaniard have all come on his beloved hard courts and in North America, where Djokovic has played some of his very best tennis. Of the 16 sets they've played on clay, Djokovic has only won 1 of them, so it is going to be difficult because they've played in some big matches on this surface, but Djokovic just can't seem to find a way of hurting Nadal. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, we're 10,000 miles away and we're on a different surface, and I think that, in a nutshell, gives you the size of the task that faces Djokovic. He is a long, long way away from beating him so far on a clay court, but he'll tell you today's a new day. He'll try and put all those previous losses behind him and just concentrate on what's going on here. He's going to back himself, as he always does, but he's going to have to play, I think, the best match of his career in order to beat Nadal today. It's simple as that.
Yeah, well, Nadal has suggested that this is pretty much like his backyard. He said of all the courts in the world that he's managed to have success on, this is one of his favourites. So it's worth just giving you a few numbers. He's won 58 of 64 sets here in Monte Carlo. 30 of them have been consecutive. The last one he lost was in the final against Federer back in 2006, and obviously looking for a 5th straight title here. And he's only ever been defeated once. That was against Guillermo Coria in the 3rd round back in 2003. And his record against his peers, against other top 10 players in the world, is incredible. He's won all 11 matches that he's played against them, and is currently on a 26-match winning streak. So it's one of the toughest asks in sport, surely, to beat Nadal out there this afternoon.
I think so. I think you've hit the nail right on the head. And given what he brings to the table, how absolute his focus is, the fact that he takes nothing for granted, it's so difficult to see any weaknesses in this young man, both physically, mentally, tactically. And I think together with Uncle Tony, they really have come up with such a good game plan, such a good everything as far as surrounding himself with the right people are concerned. This young man hasn't done too much wrong.
Well, having said all that, obviously you've still got to believe that you've got a chance of winning the match. What does Djokovic need to do this afternoon to stand a chance of winning the tournament?
Well, I think we got a glimpse of it towards the end of that second set with Andy Murray yesterday. And you saw that when Murray played aggressively, took the ball on the rise and served well. Those were the key components to really hurting Nadal towards the end of that second set when he was down 5-2. And I think Djokovic has got the capabilities to take the ball early. We see him do it regularly on a hard court. And I think if he gets the tactic right of opening out Nadal to the forehand side and then perhaps pumping that backhand up the line and moving forward, he's got a chance, but I think that's the game plan.
Djokovic a gagné le tirage au sort et a choisi de servir.
And even when he executes it well, it's still a big ask. We saw that yesterday. Murray, in his post-match press conference, said Nadal's the best player ever on the surface.
I think there are a lot of us that would agree, and I'm sure the Prince is one of them. He's seen some great tennis players grace this particular court down the years, and Nadal is right up there with the very best of them. He's a keen tennis player and enjoys this particular tournament. We often see him courtside, royalty both on and off the court then this afternoon. Both players were out here a little earlier today, practicing, getting used to the conditions. They can vary wildly during the European clay court season. If it's cold, damp, starting to drizzle a little bit, then the court can be very, very slow. But then when the sun comes out and the court dries out, then the conditions can be relatively quick. So the players have to be ready to adapt within matches. And they've been stringing their rackets at varying tensions throughout the course of the week to be ready just in case conditions do change. And that might happen this afternoon. So it should be a good one, this. The world's best, Rafael Nadal, up against the world number 3, Novak Djokovic, looking to win his very first title here in Monte Carlo and attempting to stop Nadal winning his 5th straight title, which would be a record. So we have the opportunity this afternoon to witness history in the making.
Première manche. Le service, Novak Djokovic.
Djokovic won the toss and elected to serve. Remember, it's the best of 3 tie-break sets.
Ready? Play. Cancel.
One of the most fascinating things yesterday in the semi-final was when Murray finally started to play without the shackles. And I think that's exactly what Djokovic has to try and do this afternoon. He's got absolutely nothing to lose here. No one's expecting him to win the match. So surely he's going to be able to go out there this afternoon and swing freely.
Well, you would hope so, because I think it'll make for a good spectacle if that's the case. Just interesting, both of us got here early this morning. We were watching these two guys warm up. Djokovic wasn't out there for more than about 25 minutes tops. Nadal, prior to that, must have spent an hour and 15 minutes on the practice court going through his strokes. Just so intense. Most of us would be exhausted after a warm-up of that length, but it's the norm for him. Taking nothing for granted. Beautiful. Hopefully he's going to use that inside-out forehand to good effect today. It's a good play against Nadal.
It's going to be an important shot for him today, that backhand, because I think Nadal's going to play his strengths against Djokovic's. He's going to go cross-court with the forehand, and Djokovic has to be able to step up the court, take that ball on and not miss. He's going to stand any chance at all this afternoon, especially off the return. It's the one area that we have highlighted this week when Nadal tends to drop the ball short. So what you've got to try and do is then press the rally from there. If you allow him to just start 50-50, you've got no chance. Early opportunity then for the defending champion to get off to a flyer. Brilliant. What a shot. Nadal makes the best possible start.
Well, that's the play I was talking about. I love it. But when a guy comes up with a shot like that, you just got to say too good. There was absolutely nothing wrong with what Djokovic did there. And for me, that goes back to what I was saying a little earlier when he was warming up for a good hour before the start of this match. When he hits his first ball in a match, he is ready to go and often can jump on his opponents early on.
I'm sure there are a whole host of former champions in the house today that can appreciate just how good a start that was. Nicola Pietrangeli, a champion here in 61, 67 and 68. See what he was trying to do. Got to try and disrupt Nadal's rhythm, but you're not going to have any success with a drop shot if you play it from that position in the court.
It's way too deep. Means the ball has got such a long area to cover, and that'll give Nadal way too much time to track it down. You want to be playing that drop shot when you're well inside the baseline. Then it becomes a high percentage play.
Well, again, it is going to be a risky strategy, but against Nadal, that's what he forces you to do. That's why he's had so much success on this surface. So I don't think there's anything wrong with missing that, as long as you feel it's the appropriate moment to go for it. It's all about execution of the game plan then. Brilliant. It's good stuff. Nice court position there as well, right up on the baseline.
As soon as Nadal drops his backhand short, this one coming up right here. Djokovic is on it. Taking it nice and early, changing direction on the shot. Not easy to do. And it has to be that good in order to win points against Nadal. Slap bang on the line.
Plenty of support this week. Mum and Dad have been in the house, and the brothers as well. That's a brilliant lob. Such delicate feel.
So perfectly weighted. Because that was a good deep approach from Nadal. Look at the little flick of the wrist. Couldn't have thrown it or even put it there by hand. Corner to corner and over the backhand side of Nadal, just making life a little more tougher for him.
Djokovic.
Well, it'd be a huge boost if Djokovic were able to break back immediately. Here's an opportunity to do so. A really good effort from Djokovic, because the last thing you need is to dig yourself a hole at the very beginning of any match against Nadal, especially one as important as this one. So to have broken back there will give a real shot in the arm.
It's a good game. Kept good length on the groundies, mixed it up nicely.
Cancel.
Of course, one of the fundamental differences between these two is the amount of spin that they put on the ball when playing on clay. So Djokovic is always going to be hitting the ball slightly lower over the net than Nadal. And of course, when you're going up the line, that's the highest part of the net. So if you don't hit it perfectly, sometimes you are going to clip the tape.
I like the penultimate shot. But I think the play for me would have been, again, pump that backhand up the line. It's his favorite one. When he's playing with confidence, he hits that shot well. Pump that one up the line and see what Nadal's got. Come in, see if Nadal can pass you like he did on that break point. And if he can, well, it's too good.
Maria just confirming that it just missed.
Merci.
That's good stuff.
It's good aggressive tennis from Djokovic. Really was his trademark throughout the 2008 season, especially first couple of months of the year.
A good shot. You do have to paint the lines to a certain extent. You're attempting to beat Nadal on clay. Djokovic has done a good job in that regard so far.
Oh, it's been a good start. Got back into this one nicely early on, as Jason said. It's a big enough ask beating Nadal on clay. The last thing you want to do is fall behind early on in a match. So, it's a bit of confidence, world of good.
Interestingly, at the beginning of the match, Nadal is just playing to his strengths. I think that's what he does against everybody, irrespective of the opposition. We know Djokovic has a better backhand than a forehand, but that doesn't worry him at all. The Spaniard just hitting the vast majority of his ground strokes to Djokovic's backhand, believing that his best will be better than Djokovic's best.
And we'll have to see if he's able to fine-tune that. If Djokovic starts to get the better of him, will he change that up? Will he go to the Djokovic forehand a little bit more? Because we know that's his weaker side. Nadal is so good at assessing his opponent while he's playing him. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
It's been an interesting start here. They have broken one another's serves. Nadal needs to hold here to get back on level terms. Often see Nadal fluffing his lines.
I wasn't too sure what to do there, because as soon as Djokovic plays his drop shot, takes up a good position, just takes 1 or 2 steps into the court, cutting off the angles, and perhaps it just took away one of Nadal's shots. And you can see Djokovic looming large there in front of him.
Net. Premier service.
A little more aggressive there with those 2 forehands.
But it's controlled aggression, getting good height over the net. Now he's hitting the ball as hard as he can. Look at the net clearance.
Interestingly, Nadal's average net clearance is 2 meters 10, whereas Djokovic is only 1 meter 40. Big difference. Important point, this one. After an untimely double, Nadal's first of the match. Really good stuff from Djokovic, rock solid. Spanish fans would have been delighted with Nadal's start, breaking in the opening game, but since then it's been all Djokovic. Chance here for another break. Well, Nadal probing both sides there, the backhand and the forehand, eventually drawing the error of the weaker of the 2 ground strokes. Having to work hard to stay in this service game.
For me, right there, an interesting contrast in the 2 rallies. The one before, Djokovic was really just playing to Nadal's backhand, and you could see how much more comfortable Nadal is in the backhand corner when he won that 24-shot rally. This time, a couple of shots early on to the Nadal forehand in the rally. It's Djokovic who gets the error.
Another chance to break. Brilliant. Really good feel from Djokovic there, having chased down the drop shot. And the Serbian standing strong at the beginning of this match.
Djokovic mène 3-0.
Just got to be able to keep that up for another 2.5 hours. And he'll be fine.
He's on the roll at the moment. He's won 12 of the last 17 points, and he's doing an excellent job of taking full advantage of every look that he gets at a Nadal second serve. The Spaniard has yet to win a point when he misses that first serve. Djokovic has won all 6 so far, and that has proved crucial.
That's unbelievable. Thought he might take the backhand up the line. That half volley flick from Nadal. No time whatsoever. Think about that shot. All instinct and feel.
Same again. Not quite as difficult, that shot, but the target area is very similar. Well, Nadal just gives you no time to settle. You just get the break to go 3-1 up. And just when you need a comfortable service game, it gives you nothing for free. So the Spaniard suddenly with an opportunity to get right back into this opening set. Looking good at 3-1. Nadal didn't skip a beat, and he's right back in the opening set now. 3-2.
Even though Djokovic lost that game, I thought it was just a little unlucky with the shot selection, because early on in the game. He had probed, made the opening on the forehand side, and when he got the short reply, instead of pumping his backhand down the line towards Nadal's backhand, he went back to Nadal's forehand, and Nadal was waiting it. That happened on the first 3 points of the match, of the game. And I think if he chooses a different shot there on the penultimate shot, Djokovic would have been fine. So it's so many ingredients that you have to get right if you want to beat Nadal. Shot selection, you've got to be able to execute your game plan, and you've got to do it game after game after game. That's the tough part.
Interesting parties here. Larry Passos, the red cap there, used to coach Gustavo Kirten, who was a champion here back in 1999 and 2001. Carlo Piatti as well. Lives just around the corner. I passed him out running the other morning, working with Ivan Lubicic still. We had a good tournament this week, reached the quarterfinals. We're getting duffed up by Nadal in his second match of the day, so it was a difficult day at the office for the veritable veteran. Sure, there's plenty of discussion courtside in regard to all that we've seen so far. It's been a fascinating start to the match. Nadal needing to hold here, draw level.
Beautiful. These guys are both hitting the ball really sweetly, especially Djokovic. This one right in the wheelhouse.
Just been a little more aggressive there. Perhaps he might need to be, given how the first 5 games have panned out here. That's phenomenal athleticism from Nadal.
Agility was insane. You know how much core strength you need to be able to pull off a shot like this one coming up. He's moving the wrong way, everything is in the wrong direction, yet he's still able to put enough on the smash to hurt Djokovic.
Yeah, just kicked off the edge of the line there.
And I think if you want to beat Nadal, you're going to need a little bit of luck. Shots like these, just catching the outside edge of the line. Perhaps a net cord here or there. Get lucky on a break point.
Uncle Tony won't be worried as yet. He's seen Nadal rise to many a challenge throughout the course of his career. And this is just another of those. We saw Nadal win the opening game of the match with a similar backhand. And he draws level with yet another. I think that's the difficulty, Robbie, in what you were discussing a game or so ago. He comes into the forehand, Nadal burnt him and broke his serve, comes into the backhand there. He's so good at hitting that one cross-court under extreme pressure. It's such a tough shot to cover, isn't it, when you're coming in?
Certainly is. But at least you asked a tough question. I think as a player, you'll feel a lot better about yourself at the end of the match if a guy's hit just too many great shots against you.
I like the way Djokovic constructed that point. Initially trying to get at the Nadal backhand, but then content to try and open up that side by going to the forehand. But of course, to be able to do that, you've got to make sure that you're consistent enough under pressure. And that occasion he was. Terrific anticipation. Finding himself in the right place at the right time.
One shot right there. Nadal changes the dynamics of the point. Just turns defense into attack. Look at the footwork. Lots of little adjustment steps around the ball. And beautiful touch around the net. Really is the complete package now. Evolving all the time as a player.
It's a little too obvious, the drop shot there. Nadal steaming in. Got there nice and early, so he's able to hit an aggressive backhand.
Yeah, sent the email a little too early here. Nadal saw it coming.
a very risky approach shot. It's exactly what you were talking about, Robbie. Nadal had so much time there, and instead of going up the line as he had done previously, just throwing Djokovic the high percentage variation.
Dipping so much. Even if Djokovic is there, still tough to hit a winning volley.
Break point. Oh, it's phenomenal. Earlier in the match, he'd drawn Nadal in to a similar position and then thrown up the lob. On that occasion, Nadal perhaps sensing that he might try it again. So the shot selection from Djokovic was perfect.
Certainly was. The exact opposite shot to the one he played before. The short backhand cross versus the lob down the line.
Executed to perfection. What a change up from Nadal there, off the backhand.
Quality of the ball striking has been unbelievable. Virtually every point is being finished with a winner, or at the very least an excellent forced error.
Third break point. Well, you always hope in the big matches that both players can bring their A games to the court, and that's exactly what we're seeing at the moment, Rob.
Well, the last unforced error made by either of these players was 16 points ago. And that just gives us a clear indication of the quality of the tennis on display.
And within those 16 points, 9 of them have been won by hitting clean winners. umpire immediately wanting a closer look, confirming that it was just wide.
Avantage Djokovic.
Suddenly the crowd realizing that, surprisingly, Nadal missed there. It's Djokovic. An opportunity to lead 4-3.
It's the second time we've seen him just grab his back and stretch it out.
It's not a good sign. It is a lot more difficult playing against Nadal than anybody else on this surface. That's without a shadow of a doubt.
And you do get a lot more aches and pains when you switch from one surface to another. Body's got to adjust to the sliding.
And I think against Nadal as well, you hit a lot more balls out of your comfort zone, so it does put your body under a lot more stress. And the wheels have just come off on the tail end of this long and arduous game. That could prove crucial in determining the outcome of this opening set, because now it's Nadal who has break point. Disastrous end to the game. It's looking so good for Djokovic. He still seems to be having problems with his back. So there's no question now that Nadal has the upper hand. He leads 4-3.
Again, just highlights how difficult it is to live with Nadal on the surface, but he's done a pretty good job so far. Mustn't be disheartened by the fact that he's down a breaker serve, because he knows that he's been playing well, hitting the ball well, and any time he can turn things around, he's got to take heart from that fact.
Yeah, and I think the only downside, if there is one really, is the fact that he needs treatment, and it's a nightmare if you're taking on Nadal and you're not fully fit.
That's the last thing in the world that you want. Remember, he had to retire last year against Federer in the semis. Hope it's not going to be the case today in the finals.
Just depends how serious the injury is. Sometimes if you do have a slightly stiff back and you get a bit of a rub on it from the trainer, it can loosen up a lot. But if it's something that is tweaked or pulled, then it's only going to get worse, not better.
Exactly. Stefan Vivier is the ATP physio. Used to be a former American football player, did Steph. You can see he's a big fella.
Mesdames, Messieurs, Novak Djokovic reçoit un traitement médical.
Such a shame though, Robbie, because the quality of tennis in the opening 48 minutes of this match was phenomenal.
Well, the fact that we've only played 7 games in 48 minutes just tells you what a brutal encounter this has been so far. I mean, average rally length must be somewhere around, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 shots minimum. And we've seen a couple of rallies going at least 25 shots. Both guys ripping the ball as hard as they possibly can, side to side stuff. Good net play. We've had it all so far. And if we could just have another hour and 45 minutes of it, the crowd would be delighted.
think it must be incredibly frustrating for Djokovic because although he's done relatively well of late in terms of his results, performances haven't been that good. But today the performance has been outstanding. The ball striking has been incredible. But then, in the midst of all that, to strain your back is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, it's got to be. You work so hard to get into matches like these, finals of tournaments. You do all the prep work you possibly can.
But he was talking at the beginning of the week about how important it was to be physically fit and strong for the European clay court season, and the fact that he didn't feel he was fit enough or strong enough, and that was something that he really was concentrating on at the moment, and perhaps this match has come a little too early for him.
That's an interesting point you make, because a lot of guys are trying to do a lot of base training in the off season. A few players took February off, worked very hard. Verdasco did that. Wawrinka was another player who did that. And it's very difficult to do it when you're playing matches, to go out and bust yourself on the track. Let's keep our fingers crossed that it's nothing too serious and that he can plug away.
The key now is to focus solely on the tennis, if he can. Obviously, he gets a bit of feedback in terms of how serious it might be, and if it's not going to get that much worse, just got to try and concentrate on the ball striking. And Nadal too, not an easy situation. He's got to try and maintain his concentration. He's got the advantage of the new balls, so he looks to extend his lead. Nadal read the situation well. He apologises because the ball did took the top of the net, but it's all over the reply of Djokovic's.
Yeah, this net cord doing Djokovic any favours whatsoever. He was off balance from the beginning. So difficult to recover on clay when you're off balance. It's so much about being on balance. You're sliding around.
Just almost swatting that one disdainfully away. It's an excellent passage of play for Nadal. Nadal shakes his head, confirming that he thinks the ball was deep. And Djokovic trusting Nadal, telling the umpire there's no need for him to actually pop down and take a closer look. It's nice to see. But that's now 11 of the last 15 points that Nadal has managed to win. And he's so good at that, building momentum at crucial stages of sets and matches.
Does it better than him.
The trainer no.
Djokovic has to hold serve here, keep his hopes alive in the first set.
Forehand is incredible.
0-15.
Well, he's just a little bit short. Nadal just spanks that away.
Nadal's won 8 of the 10 points when Djokovic has come into net. That's how good his passing shots have been. It's a different match now. Djokovic hasn't managed to maintain the level of his play. It's only dropped 10%, but now it's like a man against a boy.
Yeah, even if that just shows you how good Nadal is. Just can never overemphasize it. Just pure class.
Gets hot.
The first point in 10 that Djokovic has been able to win.
Begging for a bit of luck to go his way.
But he has had his fair share this afternoon, it has to be said. But he is in desperate need of a little bit now, that's for sure. Set point, Nadal. It's a real shame that the opening sets turned into a little bit of a damp squib there, because the first half was absolutely phenomenal. But Nadal wins it pretty comfortably in the end, 6-3.
Ok, tu donnes ça à Hubert ou là-bas, qui l'amène. Ils connaissent là-bas.
Well, he was just relentless. And again, so mingy with his unforced errors, Nadal. Look at that, just 8 of them, 12 winners. And remember, Djokovic was throwing everything at him, including the kitchen sink. And those 9 winners really just not enough, offset by 17 unforced errors for Djokovic. And although he tried to be aggressive, I enjoyed the game plan, but Nadal just coming up with some spectacular passing shots. Djokovic only winning 20% of the points at net. So it's been a good match so far. Djokovic has actually given a good account of himself, but it just shows you how tough the task is to beat Nadal in one of these big events on clay.
Jason Goodall alongside Robbie Koenig on finals day here at the Monte Carlo Rolex Masters. A fascinating opening set, particularly the first half of it. And Djokovic very much held his own. But since 3-all, it's been all Nadal. He has won 23 of the 32 points played since that stage, which is almost 75% of the points. So a phenomenal effort from Nadal. And the big question is now, is Djokovic able to raise the level of his game once more? Nadal is improving his numbers here in Monte Carlo by the minute. He's now won 59 of 65 sets here, 31 of them consecutively. Looking, of course, today to win his 27th consecutive match here in Monte Carlo.
Premier service.
I've seen Djokovic hit a couple of really delicate lobs, and they have to be inch perfect. So important for him to get off to a good start in this second set, given that he lost his way a little bit from 3-all in the first. Just getting 1 or 2 pointers there to improve his slice backhand.
It's reminding him about when he won back in the day.
Certainly was. It's good anticipation.
Good lesson here. 80% of the easy passing shots normally go cross court. So fake for the line, cover the cross. Remember that one at home, folks, when you're playing some singles.
opportunity for Djokovic. Gain a little bit of confidence here in the second set.
Ridiculous tennis. Get out of here.
But again, that's just another indication of just how hard you have to work to win a single point against Nadal. This get was ridiculous.
I thought the point was over. How he gets that back into play. And then still puts up another lob. The ultimate competitor. If he didn't know better, you would have thought he just won the tournament.
Unfortunately, that's a 1-love in the second. Another long and arduous exchange. 34 strokes took Djokovic to eventually break serve. We saw plenty of that in the first half of the opening set, and he wasn't able to maintain that level. The good news is that the back seems to be pretty good. It's holding up well. The question is he going to be able to play that well for the rest of the match? Because that is what he needs to do. It's as simple as that. It's a lovely serve.
Hawkins.
We did mention at the beginning of the match, one of the key components was going to be quality serving. Certainly helps make the majority of your first serves, as he has done in this game. Then it allows him to dictate play, and that is crucial against Nadal.
And the other point you highlighted, evident on that last point, you get the short reply on the return, got to make it count. That's exactly what Djokovic did. He's done very well to cement the breaker serve.
Now he's got to build on this lead.
Left. Always. Cancel. Count 0.
It's most unusual. It's a wild backhand.
Carlo cancels.
Good length on the approach.
Carlo counts. Nadal.
Oh, it's a brilliant serve. Primarily on clay, just have to go to his opponent's backhand if they're right-handed, but now feeling the need to mix things up a little bit. 2-1. This undoubtedly the hottest ticket in Monte Carlo this time of the year. Plenty of VIPs in the house as well. It's get a little nippy when the sun goes in, so it's important to be prepared. Come equipped accordingly. Well, thoroughly enjoying day 7 of our live coverage here. And it could be a historic day. Nadal looking to win a 5th straight title here. No one has ever been able to achieve that here in Monte Carlo. Standing in his way, it's the Serbian #1, and world #3, Novak Djokovic, who made a good start to the match, and for the first half an hour or so held his own with Nadal. Then the Spaniard went on a tear, took the opening set after 58 minutes, and Djokovic again has started brightly here in the second. And currently, there's a break to the good. Never quite got up to the pitch of the ball there. Nadal does drop the ball short when returning, especially when he gets a little nervous. It's so important. Get up there, anticipate where the ball's going to bounce and take it on the rise. It's what Murray did so well at the tail end of the second set yesterday in the semi-finals, and what Djokovic did at the beginning of the match. It is frustrating because you know if you drop the level of your game just 10%, then you'll get hammered. That's exactly what happened from 3-all in that opening set, when Nadal then won 23 of the next 32 points. The backhand in particular is proving costly for Djokovic. 17 unforced errors out of a total of 23 off that particular wing. No need to start showing your frustration. We all know how difficult it is, but you've got to try and show your best poker face. So Nadal with a couple of chances to draw level. Nice change up, a little bit of serve and volley. Djokovic perhaps a little fortunate to get away with it. Still break point. Most unusual. A little bit of a let-off for Djokovic. with a shot now of getting out of this game unscathed. What a shot! What a change-up! Djokovic was left dumbfounded.
Well, I think he's probably thought he's had a winner here.
Nadal.
Because against anybody else it would be a winner. Not against this guy. Comes back with interest.
At the very least, you're thinking about ghosting in and putting away a high volley there, aren't you?
Oh, look at that. Incredible.
Another chance to break. It's a lovely ball. Technically spot on.
That's the play I'm talking about, and wisely going back behind Nadal with that volley. So difficult to hit a winner into the open court.
He's turned things around at the net very nicely in this second set. He's won all 5 points in the forecourt in the first 3.5 games here. He's only 2 and 10 in the first set, and that's crucial. You're not going to get the better of Nadal solely from the baseline. You've got to post good numbers at the net, and that will make a big difference. Plenty of really long games beginning of the opening set. This one also gaining in importance the longer it runs. Plenty of the neutrals now getting right behind Djokovic. They'd love this match to go the distance. They've seen plenty of exceptionally good tennis in spurts so far in this match. Djokovic enjoying a really nice passage of play at the moment.
toga da žuriš, brate, daj igraj s njim, ajde igraj.
Cancel. Cancelled.
Just starting to get a little worried now. Been a long time since Nadal's dropped a set here in Monte Carlo, way back in 2006, in the final against Federer. What if he was to drop serve here? Djokovic would be in with an excellent shout of grabbing at least a set.
Monte.
Used that body serve well against Djokovic as Nadal. Good body language though. Just needs to look up at the scoreboard. No, he's doing very well here in the second.
Carlo.
Well, this match could be about to get very interesting. Break point. He's done it. Setting the break is a sizable lead. The question is, will it be enough? (4-1).
He knew he was going to have to work hard for this double break. And Nadal asking all kinds of questions. Another bruising rally. Djokovic just starting to get comfortable now with the weight of shot, the intensity of each and every rally. A big deal, and he knows it, but he can't rest on his laurels.
Done an excellent job of of cutting out his unforced errors in this second set, yet he's still been able to put Nadal under enough pressure to draw a few unforced errors from the Spaniard. He's still been aggressive though, that's the key. Hasn't moved back behind the baseline, hasn't just simply put the ball back in play and been content to wait for the errors. He's been constantly probing. Finds himself rewarded for doing just that. So this still, even though he leads by a double break, a hugely important game.
Prenez vos places, merci.
It's so hard not to relax when you're a double break up 4-1 and you just simply can't afford to do that against Nadal.
Thought about going over. Again, it's another good volley here from Djokovic, going back behind Nadal. Kisses the net once again. Fortunately for Djokovic, stays on Nadal's side of the net.
On that occasion, Djokovic did find himself forced a little too deeply behind his own baseline. Tough to be aggressive from there. Volley. He's yet to lose a point to the net here in the second set. He's won all 8 of his forays into the forecourt.
Well, he's asking all the right questions here. If Nadal can hit a winner from there after what's just transpired in the rally, again, you've got to say too good. But you figure sooner or later, he's got to miss a couple. It's good stuff here from Djokovic. Big point, this one. Exquisite touch.
Couldn't be playing any better than he is right now. He's wrestled the upper hand from Nadal. And has done so by attacking anything that Nadal has dropped short, particularly on the return of serve, and then by choosing precisely the right shot selection and displaying exquisite feel at the net.
Nadal needing to hold here to stay in the set.
Oh, he's on fire now.
0-15.
8th winner of the set.
Well, amazingly, that is the first time in the last 26 points that Nadal has been able to win 2 in a row. And that gives you a good indication of just how dominant Djokovic has been. Quick U-turn, the umpire, no need to get down there. Nadal accepting that it was on the line, but just too deep. Scoreboard looking a little more respectable, but surely this second set is safe as far as Djokovic is concerned. He leads by a double break, 5 games to 2.
This has been some of the best tennis I've seen him play. Definitely all season. He'll be well aware of the fact that it's been a while since someone took a set off Nadal on this surface, and again it'll really help his confidence together with the final showing in Miami just about 2 weeks ago, finals here. Who knows, maybe he goes one better, wins the tournament. That would be a massive shot in the arm for him. Still plenty of work to do though. Even a double break against Nadal, nothing's guaranteed. So it's all about keeping the focus for this young man, staying concentrated, keeping up the high level of play.
I go as far as to suggest that this is the best tennis that Djokovic has played in at least a year. Yes, he won the Tennis Masters Cup in Shanghai, but didn't play tennis as good as we've seen this afternoon, given the circumstances and the quality of the opposition.
Yeah, I think it's fair comment, definitely. Nadal wasn't around as well for that Masters Cup. Andy Murray. Had a couple of long matches. And no disrespect to Davydenko, but to beat Davydenko in the finals is not quite the same as beating Nadal in the finals of a clay court event. That's for sure.
He did win Indian Wells, remember, last season, and of course the Australian Open, and as well as Rome, but he beat Stanislas Wawrinka in the final there. So I think we're seeing some of his very best tennis since winning in Melbourne, and that will do his confidence the power of good, irrespective of what happens here in the third set, if we get that far. But it certainly looks like we're going to go the distance. Djokovic with an opportunity here, serving with the new balls, attempting to pocket the second set.
Not easy to hit that many winners on clay against Nadal.
A nice timely reminder, this as well, to the rest of the tennis world, that Djokovic is still right up there. That's important as far as his own confidence is concerned. A lot of talk about the achievements of Andy Murray of late, and rightly so. The downfall of Roger Federer. But, if he can continue playing as well as this, do something remarkable this afternoon, go a long way to repairing everything that's happened really since Wimbledon last year.
This one clipping the top of the net and the sideline.
It's always nice to have Lady Luck as a bedfellow.
You need it against Nadal on the surface.
Posted some really good numbers on serve. It's made 20 of 27 first serves in the second set. That's almost 75%. He's only surrendered 9 points in total when stepping up to the line. That's been the cornerstone of this much improved performance in the second set. Brilliant. Finishing the set with considerable aplomb. The first that Nadal has lost since the final way back in 2006 here.
Well, there's no question that's one of the best sets of tennis he's played in a long, long time. And the foundation of that, an excellent serve. Look how well he served. 75% of those first serves going in and winning the vast majority of the points. Was outstanding at net, 100% in that category, 9 of 9, and break points won. That's the key. When you play against Nadal as well, and he gives you half a chance, you've got to take it. And that's exactly what Djokovic was able to do. And as we said, it's been a long time since Nadal lost a set on clay, going back to the 2006 final. So plenty for him to ponder now. Just one set. There's not a lot of room to maneuver. It's great that this one's going the distance.
Well, already Djokovic has been able to achieve something pretty special this afternoon. That's halted a streak of 31 consecutive sets that Nadal has won here at the Monte Carlo Country Club. And of course now what he needs to do is break the other streak that Nadal's got going for him, the 11-0 win-loss record against top 10 opponents. That will of course mean that Djokovic will be able to win his very first title here in Monte Carlo and stop Nadal winning 5 consecutive championships, which would be another record. So there's everything very much still to play for here this afternoon as Nadal gets this deciding set underway.
That's really been one of his go-to plays in this match, going after Nadal's second serve. It's really hurt the Spaniard in that department. Nadal only winning 33% of the points on a second deal.
We did mention at the beginning of the match that I think Nadal was playing incredibly good tennis all week. He had gone through patches in his matches where he'd made errors. And it's always good to play these guys at the beginning of the European clay court season as opposed to the end of it. But, nevertheless, if Djokovic were able to eventually prevail here, it would be, I think, one of his most famous victories. Because mentally, just to put all of those numbers out of your mind, because everybody knows how virtually unbeatable Nadal has been on clay in the last 4 or 5 seasons, just to be able to put that to the back of your mind, just to be able to concentrate on hitting the ball as opposed to playing an opponent as good as Nadal, takes a monumental effort mentally. You like that body language. Don't dwell on the negative. Accentuate the positive. That's what it's all about now.
So uncharacteristic. There's 2 pretty simple forehands in this game. First point and now this one. Nadal fans can't bear to watch what's going on.
They need to have a little more faith in that. They'll be well aware of his record as well. But he's under pressure now. don't believe it.
That's why they pay him the big bucks. You will not see a better point the rest of 2009. This is sensational. Unbelievable reach volley. But how he manufactures that, only the good Lord above knows. And perhaps Djokovic at the end of this rally looking for some divine intervention.
Nadal bringing the world number 3 to his knees. But after all that, Riley back to deuce. The feel on the forehand there was phenomenal. The combination of those two shots, so effective.
It was beautiful. She's nearly pulling out her hair. Can't believe what's going on. You're exactly right. The hard one up the line, followed by the rolling one cross court. Beautiful change of pace.
Djokovic is in inspired mood at the moment. So early on in the set, but both players realizing the importance of this game.
Yeah, Nadal wants to stop this momentum that Djokovic has built up. And obviously Djokovic wants to keep it rolling. Get a break early on here. Beauty for him.
Lent. Promiscuous.
Frustrated because he's correctly anticipating the fact that Nadal loves to go cross-court with that pass, and he knows he should have done a little better there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But he also knows last time he'd played a good forehand drop shot, Nadal was able to run it down. So this time he's thinking, I better hit it just a little better.
That's the pressure that Nadal puts his opponents under all the time. I tell you what Djokovic has done really well for me is put a bit more height on that forehand, especially when going down to the Nadal forehand, and that's enabling him to keep the ball a little deeper, and that's troubling Nadal.
Certainly is, because we know Nadal likes to back away into the backhand corner and dominate things from that side of the court. Djokovic has done a good job of getting out of his comfort zone. Good length.
There it is again. And we know that a lot of players, the likes of Thomas Berdych, James Blake, to name but a few, have used that tactic against Nadal on quicker surfaces. It's much tougher to do it on clay. And that's why you can only admire what we've seen in the last hour or so from Djokovic. Such a cheap point at such a vital juncture.
Let service. Replace the point.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it cleaned the line, and Djokovic is frustrated because, again, it was a good deep return, and now Nadal will have 2 serves.
Yeah. The ball makes a big loud click when it hits the line, so too sure how the linesman got this one wrong.
Well, at least she had the courage to then hold her hands up. Just a little heavy-handed there on the drop shot, Djokovic.
Avantage, Nadal.
Just a little too much air. Almost thought he had that for a second. It's a cross-court backhand again that he loves. Puts a lot of trust in it.
Well, it remains to be seen just how important that game is in determining the outcome, but you do get the impression that it's going to prove absolutely vital. Nadal manages to hold after a little over 13 minutes, saving 3 break points along the way.
That was some phenomenal tennis. There it is. 13 minutes, 32 seconds to be precise. This match just gone over the 2-hour mark. So again, fitness is going to be of huge importance. It'll be interesting to see if Djokovic can continue to live with Nadal as well as he's done, Jason.
Yeah, and I think good news for Djokovic is it's not particularly hot out there today, so I don't think that will be a factor. And the back seems to be pretty good now as well. Had problems with that midway through the first set if you weren't with us, and the trainer needed to come onto the court to give him a little bit of a rub, but seems to be absolutely fine now. This, and of course, becomes a hugely important service game. It's often difficult when you've had so many chances in the previous game and you've worked so long and hard to try and get the break, to then suddenly concentrate on serving.
Play there, like that from Djokovic.
Little sneak, just shows us that he's constantly thinking on top of the situation. Good to see. It wasn't an easy volley either.
Hantukova's courtside with Larry Passos, working with Larry now. They've been practicing here all week. And, she hits a pretty mean ball herself, but doesn't quite put as much work on it as these two do. Seems to be enjoying herself. And even though Djokovic exposed the right-hand side of his court there, the play was a good one. Again, dominating Nadal. My question to you, Robbie, would be that do you think Nadal has become a little too passive? Because sometimes he does that when he gets a little tight on play.
I was just thinking that. I was just musing how aggressive Djokovic has been. Is it a case of Djokovic really pressing that's caused Nadal to be passive? I think more of the credit belongs to Djokovic. I think he's really gone out and taken that second and beginning of the third set really to Nadal. He's thrown everything at him, and Nadal is, as you say, getting stuck further and further behind the baseline. When he does have a chance to attack, he's not. He's giving in the high loopers, and that's almost his defensive mode, his survival mode. That's where he is right now. How do you assess the situation?
No, I agree with you entirely. The reason I asked the question was that sometimes when you're up against somebody that is attacking as well as Djokovic is at the moment, you've got to take risks. Even if you're going to miss, you've got to then suddenly take the game to them and try and force them onto their back foot.
Exactly. Fight fire with fire. I know exactly what you mean. But I think for me, that'll be Nadal's last course of action. What he will do is go into the survival mode where he puts a lot of balls back into court. And if that doesn't work, then you might see him start taking undue risks. But he hasn't had to do that for a long, long time.
Well, they know that this game absolutely crucial, and there is very little room to maneuver right now. These two are so evenly matched at the moment.
Djokovic.
Arian Vida looking understandably tense. He's had to work hard just to get a seat in the box this week, such as the size of Djokovic entourage. Well, he knows that he needs a little bit of luck. There was nothing wrong with the tactic, and he was just an inch too short. That's all. I don't think there's any cause for concern there. The play was a good one. Oh, it's superb. Turning defence into attack. Forced to raise the level of his game.
Well, it's not often you see someone bossing Nadal like this on a clay court. And he has to use every sinew in his muscle in order to hit that winner.
Nadal hasn't converted a break point for a long, long time. Can he do so here? Well, I think Djokovic has every right to feel hard done by there. Two really long games to start this deciding set, and both have been won by Nadal in the end. So it's the defending champion who is now in receipt of a commanding lead. Spanish fans starting to smile once more. So tough mentally, Robbie, when you've been battling for 30 minutes in this deciding set and you've lost both games but had chances to win them as well.
Exactly, you've got nothing to show for all your hard work. You've been at it already for 2 hours before that. It's not easy, and that's when the sport really becomes mental. You know, playing another individual sport like golf, if you've gone on a good run, you made 5 birdies or so, at least you can feel good about yourself. Djokovic has played great tennis. Still hasn't got a game in this third set.
It's good control of the racket head. Very, very difficult, that shot that's coming towards your body. You've got to try and hit away from your body.
Yeah, 2 good volleys, but that one particularly just deadens the racket, allows the ball to come onto him, doesn't really go after it as much. Beautiful technique. Mark Woodford would be very proud with that volley.
As would another redhead who resides in California, Doug Adler. He's having to continually force, and that's what Nadal does to you. He will play relatively similarly throughout the course of any match, and just as Murray said yesterday, you have to raise your level above his, but you have to do so at the important moments of the match when it really matters, and that's what's so hard A lot of players can do it occasionally, but so few, if any really, on clay can do it when it really matters.
Well, that'll annoy him because usually he gets good net clearance with that forehand. 2 meters 10 to be exact. That's about the average net clearance he gets with the forehand.
Djokovic has stopped the rally, so it needs to be for him to win the point. Big decision from Pascal Maria here. And it's out. So what a rally there from Djokovic, because he was under the cosh initially. And then he managed to stay in the rally and gain the offensive. And that was an excellent decision by the umpire. And Djokovic. Gutsy.
Djokovic.
Nadal has to accept it and face the consequences. A must-win point surely for Djokovic. Too good. Really good anticipation initially from Djokovic, and that allowed him to stay in the rally a lot longer than I thought he might.
It was excellent anticipation. Nadal just keeps turning him around. Back to the backhand, back to the backhand. So difficult to keep changing directions on clay.
Loves throwing in that variation occasionally on the serve. He'll hit the vast majority of his first serves to the right-hander's backhand on clay, but then occasionally, especially when it's really tight, he loves trying to earn a cheap point by going out to the forehand, and amazingly, it's his first ace of the match. Again, it's a similar scenario. I think if you're going to miss, you want to miss long or wide. You certainly don't want to be hitting in the net, and especially somebody like Nadal who had so much spin on the ball. So really putting his fans through it here this afternoon. ground, constantly taking the ball on the rise and having the courage to continually pull the trigger.
Well, he's crushing this forehand. And again, repeating the shot this time with a little bit more angle.
Break point. This time the return was just a little too short, and it was nice to see Nadal having the courage to step up the court and take the ball on.
It's incredible now. Whip he gets on that forehand. Playable if he finds the spot. Even if you anticipate it, you're not going to get it.
He's done such a good job of mixing things up. We've seen him use the inside-out forehand to open up the court and hit a few winners there. This time, finishing the point off with a beautiful control backhand down the line. It's one of his favorite shots when he's playing well.
Well, the first three games in this deciding set have taken 41 minutes to play. And incredibly, we're back on serve. 2-1. Thoroughly enjoying herself. All the beautiful people in the house on one of the most famous Sundays here in Monte Carlo. Not sure who the guy in the middle there is, though.
So nice to start from so young. Big Nadal fans there. Having the time of their lives.
Jason Goodall alongside Robbie Koenig on day 7 of our live coverage here at the Monte Carlo Country Club. It's the first Masters Series event of the European clay court season, the third of the year, of course, after Indian Wells in Miami. And we have been treated to a battle royale this afternoon. Absolutely phenomenal entertainment for all concerned. Nadal took the opening set after a little under an hour, 6 games to 3. Then Djokovic hit back strongly in the second set, taking it 6 games to 2 after 46 minutes. We've already been involved in this deciding set for 41 minutes. And we've traded breaks of serve. Djokovic needs to hold here to get back on level terms. Everything still very much to play for in the final.
To serve a little bit better in this third set. As Djokovic served well in the second. Right now that first serve percentage just 46.
15. It's
a fine line between success and failure. He's been making that forehand regularly. Started to miss one or two now. Not by much.
Well, again, it's just another indication of the fact that if you drop the level of your play by just 10%, it can prove so very costly. Djokovic really struggling at the moment with his first serve. He's only made 7 of 16, and it's allowing Nadal to dominate his service games.
Let. Mauvais service. Count.
Well, having worked so hard to get back on serve, it's incredibly frustrating to lose your own deal as quickly as that. He's running out of time now. Nadal serving for a 4-1 lead. Just a little too obvious. Nadal was already racing up the court there before Djokovic had even made contact with the ball.
Yeah, Nadal's getting used to this play. Saw it coming. You can see this. No delay in getting to that shot whatsoever. He just brushes up the back of the ball. That's how he imparts all the spin. Doesn't try and do too much with it. Seen him use that shot a lot today. Good footwork in that rally from Nadal there, just half falling the backhand. Catching Djokovic off balance.
Yes, he's made it. We can often use that shot as a barometer, really, to judge how well he's playing and how confident he's feeling. It's been a long time since he's rifled one of those up the line.
Yeah, we know how well he hits the hook forehand cross court. That one is beautiful. Paints the line.
A second ace seals the game. The Spanish flag is flying high. Nadal has a commanding lead in this deciding set. 4-1.
Very interesting what unfolded in those last 2 points. Again, goes back to what Jason was talking about, how Nadal has this ability just to change things up at the most crucial junctures in a match, and going with the forehand up the line, which we hadn't seen for a long time in this set, gets that point at 30-all, and then the ace up the middle, which we've hardly seen throughout the course of this match, to close out the game. And it's that variety that he brings to the table that makes him so unbelievably effective and so tough to play against, because you never know what he's going to throw at you. Can't prepare for something like that.
Here. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's have a go at putting the quality of this match in perspective for Robbie. Certainly the best of the week here, but I think this one of the sternest tests that Nadal has had on clay for a long, long time.
Yeah, I'm trying to cast my mind back to when he was tested this vociferously, and I'm not sure whether Jarkko Nieminen was up a set and a break against him in Barcelona last year, or whether it was the year before. But that's the last one that springs to mind, when he could have gone down. It was a set in 4-1, I remember. But it's been a long time since he's really been put through his paces.
And especially at the tail end of one of these major events. Must-win game, surely, for Djokovic. Well, it's fascinating when you look at the numbers that Djokovic has posted at the net in this match.
In the first set, only won 2 of 10. In the second set, won 9 of 9. But in the third set here, hasn't been quite as successful as he would have wanted to be. He's only won 5 of 11.
There's been 2 reasons for that, I think. One is that Nadal is starting to pass an awful lot better now. And the second is that he's just starting to get used to the patterns of play that Djokovic is using.
Absolutely. Just a fraction short. He just gives that backhand down the line, frozen rope. Straight to its target.
15 rounds.
It's been an excellent performance irrespective of the end result here, but they still urging their man on. One last push. And again, he's just trying to continue executing the game plan, but we know it's a risky one, but you have to take those risks, and unfortunately, he hasn't been able to play as well as he would have wanted when it's really mattered in this third set, but he can take great heart from the fact that he's shown this afternoon that when he's playing well, he's still up there with the very best. But here's Nadal with 2 points for a 5-1 lead. A shame that game had to end on a double. And his third, all three of them have come in this deciding set. Perhaps now just starting to get a little jaded, mentally and physically. That's, of course, one of the great challenges in taking on Nadal on clay. It's been a long time coming. Been battling it out now for 2 hours and 39 minutes. But after all of that, and all of the fantastic tennis that we've seen within that time, here's Nadal with an opportunity to serve for the championship. It's been a brutal afternoon's tennis, but it's been such a positive one as well for Djokovic, even if he ends up losing. There's so many good things to take from the match. Hopefully that will kick-start his season, give him the belief that he needs to challenge the very best in the world on a regular basis, just as he was doing at the beginning of last season. But as far as Nadal's concerned, it's been another phenomenal performance, given how severely tested he was at the tail end of the second set and the beginning of the third. And he responded beautifully. Championship point. He's done it. The king of clay still reigns here in the Principality. Nadal with his 5th consecutive victory here. The first player ever to achieve that feat. And improves his winning streak to 27 matches here at the Monte Carlo Country Club. It's a 14th Masters Series shield for the Spaniard. And it draws him level with the great Roger Federer. And now he's just 3 behind the all-time leader in that regard, Andre Agassi. It was a hard-fought victory in 2 hours and 43 minutes. 6-3, 2-6, 6-1.
Just to clarify why it was a hard-fought victory, if you're looking at that 6-1 scoreline, that third set lasting almost an hour. The first couple of games were brutal, and we made the point that that could be the turning point in that third set, and indeed that turned out to be exactly the case. Nadal won them and was able to pretty much run away with the third set in the end, but he'll be delighted
with his victory. You could see the emotional release when he fell to the ground there.
We saw him tested in the second set of his match with Murray yesterday in the semi-finals, but today was an even sterner test, and I think that's what will please him most, his ability to be able to respond when it was required.
And how often have we seen him do that over the course of his career? As Murray said, you cannot play against a guy like him and give him half a chance, because he is the best at the moment in the world at taking those opportunities when they present themselves. And that's exactly what he did today. Was able to take the opportunity and turn things around beautifully in that third set against Djokovic.
Let's highlight 1 or 2 positives as far as Djokovic was concerned. A lot of success at the net, and in attempting to take the ball early was able to hit more winners than Nadal, but of course towards the end there started to miss a few too many and ended up making too many unforced errors, 47 in total there. But if he can continue to serve as he did in the second set, where he got 74% of first serves in, stay up the court, take the ball on, have the courage to come in behind it, there's no reason why he can't challenge the best in the world on a more regular basis.
Well, this is the kind of tennis we saw him play regularly last season, and hopefully Djokovic is back to mix it consistently again with the quad squad of Nadal, Federer, Murray and himself.
We've seen some great champions triumph here down the years. The likes of Nicola Pietrangeli, Manolo Santana, all great clay court players. Orantes, Guillermo Vilas, Bjorn Borg, and a few others more recently, like Mats Wilander, Ivan Lendl, Thomas Muster, of course, Gustavo Kuerten, Juan Carlos Ferrero when he was #1 in the world back in 2003. Guillermo Correa, the last man to beat Nadal here, was a winner in 2004, and then of course since then it's been all about the Spaniard. Many people suggesting, Robbie, that perhaps he's the greatest clay court player ever to play the game.
Well, I would think so, and he's well on his way to tracking down Guillermo Vilas's record of 45 clay court titles. Nadal now just over the halfway mark, Jason. That's his 23rd title on this particular surface. And I think there's few that'll bet against him getting to that number of 45 held by Guillermo Vilas, the great Argentine.
There's no doubt about the fact that he's the best player in the world on clay, and he has started this season phenomenally well in regard to the Masters Series events. A winner, of course, in Indian Wells, gave Andy Murray a lesson on a very windy day in the Californian desert. Murray got his revenge in a sense by winning in Miami. And of course, the clay court season is all about Nadal. But there's been a little bit of a change this year in that we will head to Rome a week tomorrow, but then instead of going to Hamburg, as we normally do, the following week, we will then have a week's break between Rome and Madrid, which you would have thought would be great for Nadal. But I have heard that he was a little worried that it might detract from his preparation for the French Open because a little bit of altitude in Madrid.
Yeah, that's right. So the conditions are quite different there to what he'll experience in Roland Garros. And obviously, this guy's preparation is very precise. We see everything that he does is very precise. So perhaps a change to the schedule has thrown him a curveball, but I'm sure he'll go about dealing with it in just the right manner. He always seems to get his scheduling just spot on. And I think that's a big key to his success, Jason.
And then, of course, the other change later on in the year is that Shanghai now becomes a regular season event, and we'll head to London for the year-end championships. And we're all very much looking forwards to that. So plenty of phenomenally good tennis in store for us in the remainder of the season. But, for now, we're going to concentrate on this afternoon's performers. Plenty of positives that Djokovic can take from this match. Yes, he's going to be bitterly disappointed having lost, but when he gets a chance to look back on the tournament as a whole, he's got to be pleased.
Of course he has to be. He's beaten so many good players, a bunch of Spaniards, before finally coming unstuck against Nadal in what's got to be one of the best matches he's played in the last year or so. And as a player, that's all you can really ask of yourself, is to go out there and play your very best. And if you play well but still come off second best, you don't feel nearly as bad as when you go out there and you give a real poor account of yourself and you come off second best. Totally different feeling whatsoever. So plenty of positives, and I'm sure he's gonna echo those sentiments when he goes to his press conference after this match.
Monte Carlo Rolex Masters 2009, award ceremony of the Monte Carlo Rolex Masters 2009. Les trophées seront remis par Son Altesse Sérénissime, le prince souverain Albert II de Monaco, accompagné de Madame Elisabeth Anne de Massy, présidente de la Fédération monégasque de tennis, accompagné de Monsieur Zelko Franulovic, directeur du tournoi, et accompagné de Monsieur Francis Trucchi, directeur du Monte Carlo Country Club. Finaliste du Monte Carlo Rolex Masters après une superbe finale, Novak Djokovic, Serbie.
Phenomenal efforts from Djokovic this afternoon.
On va recevoir des mains de Madame Elisabeth Anne de Massy le trophée offert aux finalistes ici au Monte Carlo Rolex Masters.
Very popular in these parts now. Lives just down the road.
Vainqueur du Monte Carlo Rolex Masters 2009, il remporte son 34e, le 14e Masters 1000, le 5e Monte Carlo Rolex Masters, Rafael Nadal.
The first man ever to win this particular tournament 5 times in a row.
De Son Altesse Sérénissime, le prince souverain Albert II. Ladies and gentlemen, honoring the winner, the national anthem of Spain, mesdames, messieurs, l'hymne national d'Espagne. Quelques mots avec les joueurs. On commence avec Novak Djokovic.
Thank you for just passing me the microphone in my hands with no questions. Okay, I have to do it by myself this time. Anyway, my French hasn't improved a lot from last year, but hopefully next year I'm going to have this speech again on French. So for now...
Merci de me passer le micro. Sans me poser de questions cette fois-ci, je vais être obligé de me débrouiller tout seul. Malheureusement, mon français n'est pas encore à la hauteur, mais l'année prochaine, j'espère revenir ici et pouvoir encore une fois, à l'occasion d'une finale, parler français cette fois-ci.
Your Excellency, and of course everybody, I want to thank for making this tournament possible. This is a place where I spend most of my time when I'm not on the tour. And I love playing here. I love playing in front of you guys, and you're great tennis fans. And of course, to congratulate to Rafa and his team. You guys are unbelievable. Well done again. And of course, to all my family, friends, everybody who came. Thank you very much. I love you all. Merci.
Monseigneur, toute l'organisation, merci vraiment de pouvoir avoir ce tournoi ici, un endroit que j'aime beaucoup parce que j'y passe vraiment une grande partie de mon temps lorsque je ne suis pas sur le tour. Vous, merci de m'avoir encouragé. Et puis je voudrais féliciter Rafa, bien sûr, et toute son équipe. Vous êtes incroyables. Et bien entendu, remercier également mon clan et ma famille qui sont ici pour me soutenir. Rafa.
Buenos días, buenas tardes a todos, bonjour a tous, ciao everybody. Okay, just first of all, congratulations Novak, anyway, you lost today, you did a very good tournament, so congratulate you and your team.
Je voudrais d'abord féliciter Novak, bravo, vraiment un superbe tournoi aujourd'hui, toi et puis ton équipe.
Agradecer a todos los que hacen posible este torneo, a Su Alteza, al Príncipe Alberto, a Madame de Massy, Jelko, todo el grupo de Jelko, todos los sponsors, gracias a todos.
Et je voudrais remercier tous ceux qui font que ce tournoi est possible. Merci à Monseigneur, Madame de Massy, Jelko l'organisateur, et tous ceux qui sont derrière cette organisation. Merci.
Bueno, sobre todo gracias a todos vosotros, ¿no? Sinceramente, ganar 5 veces aquí es un sueño para mí, o sea que nada más que agradeceros a todos el apoyo que me dais estos años.
Je voudrais vraiment vous remercier, vous tous, la 5e finale, la 5e victoire ici, c'est un rêve. Merci vraiment pour le soutien tout au long de ces 5 fois. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup and see you next year.
Et à l'année prochaine. Muchas gracias.
A dream come true to have won this tournament for 5 straight years.
when you do look down the roll of honour here, it is very much a who's who of clay court champions.
A terrific start to the European clay court season for both players, it has to be said. Murray too took plenty of positives away, having lost to Nadal in the semi-finals. I think the only player right up there at the top of the game that's struggling at the moment would be Roger Federer, and perhaps Juan Martín del Potro. He didn't play particularly well against Ljubicic, but apart from that, the big boys seem to have done well this week, finding their clay court feet.
Well, they have, and the top boys, they'll be able to take a rest, I'm sure. Djokovic will take next week off. Nadal's on duty in Barcelona, so it's more court time for him, which he doesn't mind. He likes to play a lot of tennis in his build-up towards the big Master Series events and Roland Garros. It'll be interesting to see what Federer's schedule looks like and how he plays in his next Masters 1000 event. So we'll have to keep an eye on the former world #1, as well as the young and up-and-coming stars, perhaps Marian Cilic or Juan Martín del Potro. Let's see how those guys fare. Let's not forget Nicolas Almagro as well, somebody else that we highlighted at the start of this tournament who didn't play particularly well here, but is also another one to watch out for.
But of course, the man that we always have to talk about above all others is the King of Clay. And it amazes me year upon year, Robbie, that he's able to handle this burden of expectation, that even just losing a set today is a huge story. But yet, he just says, I concentrate on my performances each and every time I step out there on the court. It's an easy thing to say. We all know that's what you need to do, but just to be able to do it is phenomenal.
Well, you said it. There's not a whole lot more I can add to that, except that he's got the mental capacity to do that, whereas other players don't. He seems to be able to compartmentalize everything so well, and I think that's a huge reason for his success.
34th ATP title of his career. Managed to swell the coffers as well by just over 400,000 euros. Won't worry him in the slightest. He's got more money than he'll ever be able to spend, surely, even by the tender age of 22. But perhaps more importantly, gets 1,000 ranking points as well, and that puts a little bit of distance between him and everybody else as far as the race is concerned.
It certainly does, and he's looking good. He's never started the year this well, winning 2 hardcore titles so early on in the season. Obviously, Australian Open and Indian Wells really gave him that confidence that he needed to kick off his clay court season to a fantastic start again.